What's up guys, it's Gwen coming at you with a tutorial of how I made this prop for my Reyna cosplay. This was all printed on the Century Carbon, and then what I'm starting with here is I'm just going in with some 500 grit sandpaper and sanding down some of those rough lines to prep it for the filler primer. I'm just going ahead and I'm trimming off some of the excess little imperfections from the printer that were sticking off that I didn't notice earlier before I go back and sand them down the best that I can. Next thing I'm doing is I'm taking some spot putty to fill in some of the bigger imperfections from the printer here. Please do not follow my example and use your finger. This stuff is toxic. Leave me a comment telling me to stop using my finger because it is really bad for you. But I'm just filling in some of the bigger imperfections that are not just easily sandable. And this will dry nice and smooth, and I'll be able to sand it off, and all of these bigger ridges will be all smooth. And this does get very dusty, so make sure you're doing it in an area where you don't mind dust going, and please wear some kind of mask while you do this because the dust is also pretty toxic and it gets everywhere. And the next step is to spray it with some filler primer. I like to use the 2-in-1 filler sandable primer. I feel like it works really well, so I just go ahead and I give this a nice coating. It doesn't have to be super neat or anything because you are just going to sand over it anyways, but just make sure that it's got a nice full coverage coat on every little angle. Once that is dry, of course, you are going to sand that baby down. I am using, I believe it's 800 grit sandpaper here. But just sand it as much as you can because you are going to go in with some more filler primer here. Basically what you're trying to do is you're just going to fill it, sand it, fill it, sand it until it is as smooth as you want it. And there's my little kitty cat. Lumi is always watching me no matter what I'm doing. And after you have filled it and sanded it to the finish that you want it to be, you're going to go ahead and we're going to start painting. Here I'm using the Dupli-Color Metal Cast in purple anodized, and I'm just kind of giving everything a nice little spritzer of the color. You have to be really light-handed with this because it tends to get drippy and then it won't dry properly and then it'll look bad, so take your time with this. Now for the center of the eye, it does have a little bit of a more pinkish type hue to it. So I'm going out with the Folk Art Color Shift in the color Orchid Flash. And I feel like this was the perfect tone for this. And for this middle piece that is surrounding the eye, I'm using the color Purple Flash. And halfway through, I decided that the brush was just not working. It was going on way too sheer. So using this sponge brush worked way better. And it also helped kind of smooth out some of the paint streaks. And that was really helpful. You do have to do a billion layers because it is very sheer. And the outside shell of the eye, I feel like looked really good with the Metal Cast spray paint. So I did keep it that color. Next, what I did is I used a black paint marker and I drew the pupil of the eye in the center. And this only took one layer, which was nice. I just had to do a little bit of cleanups here and there, but overall the shape was pretty easy to replicate. And I didn't film the part where I spray painted it with a clear coat sealer, but you're gonna need to do that after all the painting is done. And next we are going to assemble the eye. I'm going in with my little heat knife welding tool to seal everything together. This tool is obviously very, very hot, so please be careful when using this. And the plastic itself stays hot for a minute, so also be wary of touching it even after you're finished. But just go slow with it. You don't want to over melt anything and risk deforming and having to sand stuff down again. So just go slow with it and be careful. Yay! And now all you got to do is assemble the rest of the pieces. So here I am putting that middle center eye piece into the outer shell. And this part I did glue because I didn't want any obvious welding marks to show, because I didn't want to have to sand it down and repaint it and just make a complete mess. I still did add a little bit of paint over it just to kind of make sure the seams were blended. But overall, it was very minor little touch-ups. When I went to attach the eye to the actual stand, it didn't fit. I guess there was a little bit of a misprint somewhere, so I made the hole bigger with my welder, and then it was able to pop right in, which was nice, but I wanted this to stay in permanently. So I did go in with my little welder and filled in those seams because I did not want this to come off. And there she is, all assembled. The last part was putting together the little swoopy things that are surrounding the eye. And again, the way it printed, the little dowels did not fit into the holes that were going to be connecting it. So I just used my welder and I kind of reshaped them and thinned them out a little bit, and until they were able to stick in the holes. Basically, it took a little bit of trial and error, but I did eventually get them in there to stick. But it was kind of a waste of time because I ended up just gluing them together anyways, because again, I did not plan on having to take these apart, and so I just glued it because why not? And I was pretty happy with how it turned out because I was able to get it to spin freely, and look at it. Okay, so Reyna eye with the completed whole cosplay for the con today. Ooh! I think it turned out, oh, my mirror is so dirty, but I think it turned out pretty good. And the rest of the cosplay, we're gonna go spend the day at the local con, and yeah, I'm gonna take you all along with me and vlog with this Extra Muse camera for the first time. So let's go. We're here. So the con was super fun. It was pretty small, but I met a lot of nice people, and we went some shopping. We entered a raffle to win a Switch. We didn't win the Switch, but we did win Tamagotchi Life, so that was really
we're still good luck.
I played CS for the first time on this really old computer, and it sucked. The controls were so hard. I did not even know anything. Ain't no way. I'm going back to Valorant. Okay, that's a wrap on CorksCon. It was really fun, super nice. Everybody loved the cosplay and the eye, so all the work I put into it, I think was a success. So, yo, thanks for watching. Until the next one.